Greetings, my name is Amanda Maples and I'm Curator of African Art at the North Carolina Museum of Art, and I'm going to be focusing on the fabulous Senegalese gold necklace seen here at the center of the image, and which is part of a full ensemble of matching gold jewelry in what is commonly referred to as the basket of flowers motif. First, we'll look at the process of the necklace being made and discuss the details and some of the history of its design. Then we'll look at the process of its creation as a collaboration on multiple levels. And finally, we'll think about the moral, cultural, financial, and aesthetic choices that are made by the women who commission and wear these ensembles. So while we will begin with its making and look at some of the techniques used in its creation, rather than focusing specifically on the technical sophistication of the male goldsmith that made this work, I'm going to focus on what such an ensemble would mean to the women who wear such spectacular gold jewelry, and to how women demonstrate their power and prestige in order to gain social and financial credit and stability in the often perilous day-to-day life of the city. Pictured here is model Mariama Sakho wearing the complete golden ensemble commissioned by myself and fashion designer Umu Si for the Harn Museum, and to be featured in the exhibition Peace, Power, and Prestige, Metal Arts of Africa, currently on view at the Ackland Art Museum. As you can see here, a complete and matching head-to-toe ensemble is the most desirable for a woman to perform sanse, a Wolof word that means dressing up and looking and feeling your best. It is a performance of an extraordinary and elegant self, but also a performance of community identity, constructed notions of beauty, of respectability and reputations, history, and knowledge recast in the present as a form of cultural capital. So it's a pretty large, entangled idea that moves beyond fashion. It's a rather dense concept. But for now, we will focus on just the necklace portion of this spectacular ensemble and practice some close looking. Even though it's just one piece of jewelry from an ensemble, we can use it to zero in on several important cultural implications that are imbricated within its design. First, note the color, slightly different in the two images, but they're both a bright golden hue. Senegalese women tend to like a yellowy, occasionally almost orange coloring to their gold jewelry, and they will instruct a goldsmith to add more or less copper to achieve the bright yellowy hue that they desire. So it's also a metal alloy, it's a mixture of metals. Note the largesse of the basket of flowers as well. There's an enormous central pendant with two flanking smaller ones. This three-part construction is specific to Senegalese gold jewelry designs and sets it apart from other global jewelry traditions. Often you will also see a pendant at the nape of the neck as well, so people seeing the woman from behind will be equally impressed by her jewelry. Such statement pieces command attention and shows off a woman's sanse, her wealth, whether cultural or financial, and her standing in the community. Given that such a necklace would be expensive to produce, by wearing it, she also interprets the local collectives of women called tontines or nat, who would have helped her to finance a necklace or ensemble. This is usually for a very special occasion, such as a wedding or a naming ceremony. Note the handmade chain as well, no store-bought one here, and this one shows off the technique of the talented goldsmith that made it. This particular style, again, is commonly referred to as the basket of flowers motif, and comes from long histories of exchange between France and Europe and Senegal, so it's a borrowed design. Apparently created as early as 1850 to 60, it was still popular in the 1910s and 20s and into the 1930s, as evidenced in published portraiture from the time and through the fieldwork of art historian Marion Ashby Johnson, where it was also noted as fashionable in the 1950s. You can see it here on the left, and a more restrained version with a smaller chain in the collection at the National Museum of African Art on the right. And of course, we still see this design today. Next, look at how large the basket itself is in relation to the flowers. This particular flower basket style became wildly popular in Europe in the 1930s because of fine jewelers like Cartier. It was commonly rendered in silver with gemstones to accent the piece, and then later in glass. Though it may have existed much earlier, as we just indicated, the basket of flowers became popular in Senegal around this time and is still popular today, especially for wedding ensembles, which are usually commissioned for the bride and given by the groom the night before the wedding. So this style would not have been incorporated into the goldsmith's repertoire until well after the arrival of Europeans and into the colonial period. And during this time, adopting French taste, especially in the urban centers like Dakar and Saint Louis, created an appropriate image of respectability and moral standing. Honoring traditional Senegalese style while mixing it with French flair was the epitome of good taste and social standing, demonstrating civilité and one's worldliness. Yet, what sets such French-inspired jewelry apart in the Senegalese context is first that it is quite often made out of local gold drawn from alluvial gold mines upriver, and second that the basket itself is quite large in comparison to the flowers one would see in a European version. This is because in Senegal, baskets are considered utilitarian items for storing grains or foodstuffs and not really flowers. Further, dangling elements add dramatic visual flair and draw the eye again to the basket, not the flowers, and the technical artistry required to create it. The flowers themselves incorporate dense weaving of finely drawn wire, or filigree. This takes an enormous amount of time, careful attention, and a steady hand. Such filigree is still highly sought after by women commissioning jewelry in Senegal today. Here are a few images of this exact necklace being made at Bijouterie Bobo et Frères, a small but talented atelier frequently used by Senegal's most famous fashion designer, the aforementioned Oumou Sy. Note that it starts in silver for cost efficiency and to allow for the woman to determine the amount of gold wash applied to it afterwards. This is again so that she can control the exact yellowy hue that she desires and that it will look the best with her skin or her outfit and or align with her personal tastes or budget. The woman will visit the goldsmith on multiple occasions, perhaps even daily, to encourage his good work, to maintain control over the design, and to ensure its timely delivery. She may even bring a male or female griot with her to sing the praises of the goldsmith. And so this leads us into our next theme in our examination of this necklace, collaborations. As you may have noticed, I've mentioned that fashion designer Oumou Sy, known as Senegal's Queen of Couture, collaborated with me to create this ensemble for the Harn Museum of Art and the Peace, Power, and Prestige exhibition. Among her many international accolades, Sy is one of the first recipients of the Prince Claus Award. Her fashions are sold worldwide and have been featured in significant West African films and music videos. Sy and I met on several occasions in her studio in Dakar, where we together decided that this historic basket of flowers motif was the most important and long-standing design in women's gold jewelry. This is one collaboration between curator and artist connoisseur, as Madame Sy has long had her own goldsmiths and incorporated traditional gold into her fashion designs. Having a goldsmith that you return to is not uncommon. And historically speaking, the wealthiest of women have even secured their own goldsmiths that may have even lived in their homes. So this way they could convert gold into malleable forms of wealth. And for women, jewelry functioned, and still to a certain extent does today, as a mobile savings account. The second collaboration is one I've alluded to several times, that of the women who co-design commissions with the goldsmith. You can see here that on one of Oumou's several visits, she is measuring the size of one of the flower baskets and directing the goldsmith in what to make and how to make it. These relationships with male goldsmiths and their female clientele are developed over time and through countless conversations. They form a relationship and understand each other's personalities and expectations. And so gold jewelry has as much to do with the goldsmith's technical finesse as with a woman's individual taste. A third collaboration can be discussed as well, and that is the females that acknowledge the histories of other famous, successful, or beautiful Senegalese women, or of politicians that they favor, both of which they honor in the naming of gold jewelry styles. But they also collaborate and collectively support one another to finance gold jewelry and clothing ensembles for weddings, naming ceremonies, as I mentioned before, and also for trips to Mecca. Here, several women have pooled resources to celebrate new bride Binta Diallo, whose hands are shown at the center of the image. In addition to cloth and gold jewelry, here they shower her with couscous grains to wish her the wealth of food and nourishment for her new family. As an example of jewelry styles invented and named for and by women, this design references the peanut, also known as a groundnut, and or its blossoms, the gathering and selling of which is specifically a female activity. As one of possibly many wives, perhaps in competition with one another, any income generated from the sale of groundnuts belongs entirely to the woman, as does any jewelry that she may acquire through her own commissioning, through gifts of betrothal, marriage, or through mutual aid tontines, or collective fundraising techniques, as I've mentioned. Another important style manifests in both earrings and bracelets. It commemorated Lamine Gueye, an early counterpart of Senghor, the first president of Senegal, who strongly advocated for women's suffrage. French citizenship had been extended to the Senegalese colonies, but as originally proposed excluded women. During his tenure as a Senegalese representative to France, his tireless protests on their behalf caused him to become quite a favorite of women across Senegal. The style was still circulating as late as 1962, when Gueye spoke at a political rally replete with women supporters in all their finery, who so boisterously favored him that the cheers were louder than those for President Senghor himself. And this particular version appears to be even more recent, showing the style's endurance. Next is this Tonamar earring, a design which was made popular by women in the 1950s because of a favorite mayor of Saint-Louis. The form of the earring is supposed to represent the mayor with his hands under his chin, relaxing, which is something he was actually loath to do because he was dedicated and active. This encouragement from the women carries an unspoken subtext that promises female support while still encouraging the mayor's continuous good work. And earrings and jewelry here are just as effective as campaign buttons or t-shirts, so women actually can use jewelry to advertise their own political leanings. All of these designs, concerns, and collaborations point to what to me is the most interesting aspect of this necklace: self-fashioning and identity. I cannot stress enough how much this is a male-dominated art form in terms of its creation, but how integral women are to co-designing the jewelry and how much it means to them to remind, honor, and memorialize women and women's histories in these ensembles. So it is the men who make it, but it's the women who drive and define it. Further, there is a moral, cultural, and spiritual element to how women present themselves at different public and private occasions. Wearing particular gold jewelry and head-to-toe ensembles means that they know how to honor other women in their lives, their predecessors, and also show that they have the sophistication and the elegance, or the social, financial, and cultural capital necessary to pull off such sensei. In closing, I want you to think about what you would wear and how you dress at special occasions. What clothing or jewelry do you wear that might be part of your heritage or your culture, your family history, or maybe to honor your chosen family and friends? I hope you enjoyed this presentation and that it encouraged you to think in new ways about fashion and jewelry as well as identity in Senegal and, of course, in your own life as well. I also hope that you enjoy the Peace, Power, and Prestige exhibition and get to see this ensemble in person. Thank you.